Why does it feel so strange?
You're not shooting the bullet. You're catching it.
Whoa.
Hey everyone, this is Preston here at the Barely There channel here with another movie review for you guys. Pretty excited about this one because once again, I got two of the best, by default, reviewers with me tonight. As always, I have David Harvey on the line. How are you doing tonight, David?
I asked for that hot sauce 10 minutes ago.
And also on the line, I also have Jeremy Thompson. One step forward, two steps back. How are you doing tonight, Jeremy?
Yo!
Yeah. I can't. I can't even.
You can do it.
You decided to reference the bad guy from Sonic.
Bad guy. It's misunderstood.
And David said like one of the most ignorant things I ever heard say all day.
I had a little bit of a problem with that line in a movie. Because you guys remember that he was in a restaurant, and when
What are we talking about?
Movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What movie?
in Tenet.
Are you alright?
It blew my mind because I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking
I was like,
stereotypical. It's like, is that good movie? What is talking?
right? I'm like, bro, this is Chris Nolan's first movie that I know of where the lead is a black man, and it's like,
character is a black man. Yeah.
Dude, John David Washington is very suave. He's very put together. He's not very I don't know. It was almost kind of like out of his character in that movie to make that joke that he made at that point.
Right.
I agree. I agree. There's many things Christopher Nolan could do, but I feel like comedy was always a little bit out of his depth, at least like that.
A wee bit.
Just a wee bit.
Last time he did comedy was the Joker. So
the Dark Knight. That was a comedy.
for the Joker, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So yeah, as you guys can very well surmise, we are here to review Tenet. Now this Tenet's the movie that has had a lot of people talking about it, if only for the fact because we're living in this, I don't even want to say post-corona because it's still going on, but in this current societal climate, movie theaters have obviously taken a hit, what with social distancing and quarantine rules in place. But yeah, Tenet was kind of like the prodigal son to kind of bring it back home and get people back into the theaters, of course, in the safest of ways possible. But yeah, this was the one. In this world where we've had big movies like Wonder Woman, Black Widow, Ryan Reynolds' Free Guy, all their dates being pushed back because we just don't know when the world will, quote unquote, go back to normal. But Tenet was the one that kind of put the spotlight back in the movie theater. And Christopher Nolan, he's definitely a visionary director, and he definitely, I believe, he really fought for this movie to stay in the theater. Like, he didn't want it to be on the small screen. He didn't create it for that medium. And yeah, it's really good. Action thriller. It was very heavy sci-fi elements in it. Has a lot of kind of big names. John David Washington as the protagonist. That's literally his name. You have Robert Pattinson. You actually have I call this in the movie, the main bad guy is Kenneth Branagh, who I was always kind of a fan of. He did a couple movies. You guys might remember him as Professor Gilderoy Lockhart in the second Harry Potter movie. And he directed the first Thor movie, and he's been around for quite a while. David, that was the guy from yesterday, the one brown guy, Hamish Patel.
Right.
Yeah, but so yeah, pretty much an all-star cast, which is what Christopher Nolan pretty much always attracts. And you have this crazy timey-wimey sci-fi action thriller, and it has all the beats of a Christopher Nolan movie.
And
Is
it
it
has
good?
Michael Caine.
And it does have Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Yeah,
Is
Michael
that how
Caine.
you talk?
It is kind of how he talks. Everything's just exaggerated, the British accent.
And Hamish Patel
You have to save
from
the world,
yesterday.
Tenet. And what? I wish he wasn't yesterday. But that would have been hilarious. But yeah, this is a movie that I have been looking forward to. Jeremy and I just saw it literally a couple of days ago. David was the first to see it, and he saw it twice.
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, Chris Nolan's prime demographic. So if you guys would like to start, either one of you, what?
How do you want to tackle this? You want to just go likes, dislikes?
That's how we normally do it here at the Barely There channel. But since we're talking about a movie about. We have to do it backwards. David knows. We have to do it back.
Reverse entropy.
We'll picture attack, guys. Two of us will go forward. One of us will go backwards.
Okay. Bear with me, guys. What if we gave our ratings right now? What do you rate this?
Okay. Jeremy, you go first. Okay, David, you go first.
I mean, I would give this movie a let's go for sure.
Damn.
Let's go.
Really?
Just give a brief reason why. Just give a brief.
I think this movie, like this, despite our times of being quarantined and social distance, this is the first like quote unquote blockbuster ish of a movie that's came out.
Right.
I did enjoy this movie. I do think that sometimes when a movie is a little bit too convoluted for like a cognitive thesis and analyses for you to simply put, if a movie is too freaking complicated for you to understand, sometimes I'm like, it's not really. It kind of takes you out of it a little bit. This movie wasn't like freaking. It wasn't Pan's Labyrinth. Like it wasn't like that bad, but I really don't think you could have understood this movie just watching it one time and without any like reviews or breakdowns or explanations or anything that. So to say all that crap, like I think after watching this movie like twice, it did really sink in. I'm like, man, like this story was complex, was layered and complicated, but it was a good thing. It was a good movie. I enjoyed the story here. Do I like this movie as much as Inception? No, I don't. I think that it was almost as good, but I would still go for a let's go on this one.
Wow, let's go.
I honestly would give it
good summary.
I would give it It's a Movie.
It's a movie.
I didn't know. It wasn't my type of movie. I'm not a target audience. Not a huge fan of spy movies in general. I just watched kind of like Christopher Nolan's kind of like background commentary on making the movie. And his main goal was to make like this globe-trotting spy film. And I know, it's not my type of movies, but I enjoyed the action for what it was. It was good. The story was okay. Honestly, David,
yeah,
I was so lost. I was angry. The first half.
I
don't blame you. I understand 100%. I understand.
Kind of was,
but
yeah.
but the moment in the movie where they got to the point where things start to go in reverse, right? Then I was like, okay, this is kind of a cool concept. And then when they start like tying things together, I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine. Like I'm okay. It's pretty good. That's cool. I was like, okay.
Things started to make more sense at that point for me.
Right. I don't like it when people say when people tell me like you're not gonna understand the movie when you go in and you're like, yeah, right. I'm gonna go in and completely just dominate this movie intellectually. But then like you go in, you're like, what the fuck? What the fuck are they saying? Um, my main, well, that's just my rating. I'll go into the rest later, but
Okay.
For sure.
That's both very good summaries, guys. And last and certainly least, mine. I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I kind of feel like I do. I'm leaning. If I'm being honest, I am kind of leaning more towards Jeremy's side. But that being said, I guess I would give it a low, barely there. Honestly,
Wow.
yeah, I give it.
Wow, you guys did not have a good time.
I had a decent time, and once I got to sit down and reflect on it, yeah, I did. I did like it, but I didn't love it. There are definitely elements and scenes and obviously character moments that I did like. Um, there's, of course, we'll get into it, but, the practical effects, I really admire Christopher Nolan's way of how he visually tells a story. I just wish the actual story and how it was delivered was, A, of course, clearer, and B, a little bit more, just more relatable or palpable so I could really latch onto. Because
Sure.
I would say just like Jeremy, and maybe even more so, like there were parts where I was feeling angry because I did not understand what was
you were
going
upset.
on, and like literally two very specific moments where I literally could not understand, like I could not hear what was being said. So it was just little moments like that. But then the movie would take 10 minutes and turn around and it would show me like an awesome car chase or a cool gunfight. It would do something that would sway me back over. It was almost like a ping pong. I was actually kind of reminded of when I watched the Last Jedi at the theater, where it would do something cool one moment and then it'd do something really dumb, and I'd feel a type of way the next. But I don't think this is Christopher Nolan's best work, but I could tell it's something that he really loved doing. And as you said, David, in the end, it kind of does all loop and tie itself back up together. I just wish that storytelling was a little bit better put on the table, because it was just a rough ride from start to finish, almost.
Sure.
But yeah, I give it a barely there, maybe a low barely there, but still.
Wowzers. This is gonna be a great review.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, guys. So
All right, that's it. All right.
Dude,
Spoiler free.
Spoiler free, dude. Because Chris Nolan is like freaking obsessed with spy movies and heist movies. Like that's like every single one of his movies has like some type of spy, detective, or like a heist.
Yeah, think about it.
Inception, the Batman movies. This 100%. Yeah.
He always does that crap, dude. And like I really do understand where you guys are coming from, because when the first time that I saw it, it really was not a good time. It was like nothing like had latched or grasped, and I kind of walked out, like more confused than like I started the movie. But when I just I read up on it from watching a breakdown, looking at some reviews, and watching the whole movie again, it did make me just thoroughly enjoy the movie a lot more. But there definitely is some some searching through translation, figuring out what the crap was going on there, which could affect your experience hands down.
Okay, so now David, I honestly believe that Preston says it's not true, but I feel like, I don't know, our theater, I feel like we couldn't hear what they were saying, and I just felt like that it was just more of a theater's fault than the movie, but we could be wrong because a lot of people said the same thing. Preston would probably go into it a little bit more, but I don't know. Like, okay, for example, Priya, the main chick who was kind of like involved in orchestrating most of the movie.
The Indian lady.
Yeah, she. So like when you went to her to explain or ask any questions, I couldn't understand a single effing thing that lady was saying. I was like, what is she saying right now? Like I
Wow.
literally can't hear. I don't can't hear her words because the way that they filmed the movie, they were like kind of whispering, but then like there was a lot of like noise going on at the same time.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Every single one of her scenes was a hard time getting what she was saying. I'm like, dude, like Chris Nolan, like your main demographic is Americans. Stop putting all these accents in your movies. It's
All
like,
So
these
many accents
different
too.
dude, he just
accents.
because I know he's freaking. He's a freaking it's a British European guy or whatever. But it's like, man, it's like I don't know. He's more diversely like woke. And
Sure.
so in his movies, he always has like different people with like different accents and backgrounds and stuff like that. But yeah, this one was particularly kind of a rough time with the Russian accent from Homeboy from Main Bad Dude, the Indian accent from Priya, um, uh, there wasn't like too many, but it was still kind of like, wait, like what are you saying?
Uh-huh.
What about a bomb? What about
What
nuclear? What?
I
What's
I
radioactive?
I I agree. It was about maybe a half, like 45 minutes in. It also doesn't help because this movie's edited a little bit weird too. Like it was Robert Pattinson, the protagonist, and Hamish Patel's character. That whole scene where they're like planning to do that heist, because Nolan loves heists, to steal that painting. It was, it's three different exits going on, and like first they're on the bus. It's like, yeah, we got to go in and steal this thing, and then they're all of a sudden they're talking to Hamish Patel's character, and then all of a sudden they're like standing in the middle of the city, just talking about, oh, you want to rail a plane, you want to blow a plane.
Mm.
That part's a little dramatic. I'm like, okay, so this is how we're still just getting a painting, right? This movie's about a painting. What is?
Right, right,
I thought it was about time travel and the
yeah.
bullets. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, that is kind of like what you were kind of like tossed and pulled around. You're like,
Yes.
wait, is this movie about the painting? Is it about the protagonist saving the wife from
Yes.
Is this about the preventing World War III?
Free.
Is this
Yes.
about like time travel? You're kind of like, wait, what is it about? And it really didn't. It really didn't. It's like when they talked about, bro, like when they talked about like the what were they called, the artifacts or like the
The
doomsday device or
artifacts, the
whatever.
algorithm. Right.
they
Yeah.
they glazed over that. I do
They
have to
did.
admit that. Like whenever they talked about that stuff, it was kind of like they talked about it, but it was very like kind of like a lucid or kind of like an abstract type of situation. They're like, oh yeah, we are preventing World War III as well. The reason why we're running around like this is to stop this doomsday device, but we're not really gonna talk about it that much. We're just gonna keep running. You know, it's kind of how I feel when I think about it now.
Yeah. There were way too many things to keep track of. I think for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, I was on my phone a little bit, and I made a conscious effort to put it down and really focus. And I got angry at myself for doing that because there were just so many different like things, like plot points. I felt like I had to take out a notebook and just like jot everything down, you know. And it was about like an hour in too. I didn't really know anybody's names because I didn't hear them. I
Right.
didn't hear. I mean, obviously the protagonist, but it took me a while to figure out. Oh, his name is Neil, and that's it. that's all.
Right.
That's all I remember. So yeah, and that's fine. Like Nolan does that. Like even in The Dark Knight, it tends to jump around a little bit. Um, and I get it does help the theme of it being like that globe-trotting movie. It's time, it spans across the world, and we're supposed to feel a little disoriented because that's how the main character, the protagonist, is feeling. But it just seemed a little too back and forth. Like first he's like, what's going on? Oh, I'm recruited into Tenet. Okay, but I'm also a badass. I know how to fire a gun and I can beat up guys in a kitchen. But at the same time, I don't know what's going on. Like it was just a little too I was unsure how to feel about any one person in this movie, and
That's
that
a
made
good
it hard for
point.
me to relate to anyone in this movie.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too.
So, yeah, I mean, even with, I mean, say what you will about Nolan's other movies, but hey, Bane and Joker were interesting enough, even though I couldn't relate to them, and they always kept me entertained. Um, and Inception, you know, that whole cast was pretty entertaining. You had Leo, Ellen Page, you know, Third Rock from the Sun, and Tom Hardy. Um, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I blanked out his name. But yeah, this movie, nobody does a bad job, and I think honestly my favorite probably was Robert Pattinson's character because he just seemed the most charismatic. Ahead, you kind of like wonder like he seems to know more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
He was the most interesting one, and but that's another thing too. Like I think Jeremy and I looked at each other at one point, right, where we just like, oh yeah, where did he popped back up? Like I thought he was gone.
Oh yeah, that's right. So much would happen, and there'd be so much traveling that we'd be like, oh, yeah, Neil's here. Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, Neil's here.
Right.
All right, yeah. Well,
Dude,
go get a
I
fire truck.
remember.
Like, what?
I remember watching the trailers when the trailers were out. I'm like, I can't tell if Robert Pattinson is really gonna be in this movie or not. Like, I saw him there, but it was like it was like I couldn't tell if he was like gonna be like co-starring or if he was just gonna be like a side character or something. You know, man. Yeah, there was lengths of this movie where he was not there, and
Right.
you know, yeah, and then he does just pop back up, you know.
Yeah, and that doesn't, and I think that's felt with him the most because at least again, maybe just to me, he was the most interesting. But like almost every character does that. Any character who's not the protagonist does that. Like the Indian chick, the even the bad guy at times. You know, he doesn't really play a part to like the second half of the movie.
Right.
When we're finally introduced to him, I will say, just real quick, if there's any one thing I liked about the movie, it was Robert Pattinson's character, and actually. Aside from his motivation, I really like the bad guy in this movie. I thought he was over the top, but just in the right just in the right way to me. Like the whole speech he had with the cutting off the balls and shoving him down his throat, like that was pretty. That caught me off guard. I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. I like the way. Of course, they don't condone a man hitting a woman, but I kind of like that scene because it just really showed just like how just dark and evil this guy really is. So I really like that. Apart from his motivation, I really liked how he was portrayed. Russian accent was a little too thick, but other than that, I thought he was good. But yeah.
My biggest gripe, I think, is just the fact that I really wish they could explain how they recorded everyone's voices in this movie. Like I feel like in like for like Dark Knight, for example, I feel like it does have a little bit of like like Mike talk in it, but like for the most part it's probably dubbed over so the audience can kind of like clearly get what's going on. There are like key moments in the movie where things needed to be explained by characters so you can relate to them. I feel like it was hard to follow what was going on because you could barely hear him. Especially the funniest part was that boat scene.
The boat scene. 5 minutes, David.
Remember,
we
David,
checked out.
But that boat scene. If you could tell me one sentence from that whole scene, I'll give you like $100 right now.
I'll give you $100 cash app right now.
Bro.
Who said bro?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Yeah, there was that one line of dialogue. Maybe other than like you threw him over or something like that. Like I really don't understand. That was one of the moments I was talking about. That where I was getting frustrated. Like, dude, I don't understand. Nolan, I know you know what they're saying because you wrote the script, but we don't know.
Right.
We don't know what you're saying. We don't know what they're saying. Right?
Maybe it was you guys' like theater or something like that. Because I really don't remember having a hard time like hearing them volume wise. I didn't understand everything they said, but volume wise, I don't think I had any trouble. Honestly,
I knew they were speaking, but I could not decipher.
Exactly right. Like it just got an earshot. Like you could hear them talking, But you were like, what words are they using? Like, like, am I having a stroke right now? Like, what?
Right. What's in this popcorn? Oh, is this Corona? Am I Corona? Like, I swear to God.
Are these symptoms? Am I positive? Because you had her accent when they were on the boat, and the Russian dude's accent, and what they were saying, they were talking, they were doing or giving like signals to sail the boat, like, and
Right.
so it's like they were having this conversation all the while they were saying like, hey, like steer left or turn the hull or bull crap like that, like whatever, like they were saying to this very intricate billion-dollar sailboat operation, that they.
I was like, David, I was like, Preston, are those boats real? Is that like a real boat?
I want to say
It
I'm
looks
not a
really
billionaire.
fancy.
Dude, that was freaking from freaking Tatooine, dude. That was one of the
That's
That's what
future
they
boat.
were.
sailors, bro.
I used to ride across the desert.
But they were, yeah, and they were like talking about like, then in the same time, the conversation that they were having was like, because the protagonist was acting like he was interested in buying plutonium to get to know the bad guy in the movie, because the bad guy was a plutonium dealer or whatever. And so he was acting like he wanted to buy plutonium. And so that's what they were talking about while they were on the boat there.
Now, I will say, the idea of like reverse entropy, I was like, this is a cool idea. Like, Christopher, if there's one director I would have to direct a movie like this, it would be him. Because the idea of like that concept in a fantasy movie is really cool. Now, going in, David, I wasn't expecting a spy film. I just saw the trailer. I was like, okay, it seems like a cool like fantasy, like weird Christopher Nolan science kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then going in, I was expecting him, like, if you would have asked me like how do you think the plot's gonna go, I would have said something like, okay, he gets into the trouble in the beginning, he joins the secret group, and then they learn about like reverse entropy and how to like use reverse bullets and stuff like that. I was expecting like two shadow organizations were going to clash, and it'd be like all this amazing like reverse people running around and kind of like battling throughout the whole movie. That's not what it was about. It was only about really him, if you really think about it. Him and Andre were the only ones to really use it on a personal level.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I was expecting something a little bit more epic, but I mean, it was epic, but like something on a bigger scale, like a bunch of crazy shit.
Right. Like in the end, in the final battle of the last act, you did have those people running around reversed and all that crap, but it was still so. It was like
It was confusing.
It was
what
like,
are we doing?
Right.
It was like,
bro,
what are they shooting at? What's going on?
I did not know what was going on. And it was like those were okay. Like, of course, those were Andre's guys.
Yeah,
like those were his men that were fighting against the Tenet the organization, against Quicksilver and those guys.
Thank God that was yeah.
And so like those dudes they were fighting, but it was almost like watching a movie, like a shaky cam movie without the shaky cam. Like there was no shaky camera, but it's like you still didn't know what was happening.
What's going on?
You're like,
right.
There was like no focus in that battle. There was just a bunch of random explosions.
Right.
I remember like thinking about the scene makes me laugh. Is when that guy got like reversed exploded into that.
Presto was like,
oh! I was like, oh!
And I'm like, dude, that's gotta be the worst way to die. He had to be so scared. Because it's like the
he had to be scared.
He ain't gonna be in Tenet too.
Right. It's like the girl, she's like, get out of there! Like, it was like Gara's sand coffin or something. It was like, but an explosion. And I'm like, dang, like that's scary.
That is scary. He died really because they made it a point to say, hey, if something happens to you in reverse, it's like 10 times more pain.
Right.
10 times more
Right.
pain. I'm like, Jesus.
Right under control.
Oh, man.
Um,
Oh my
he
God.
just gets entombed instead of exploded. Um, that sounds really horrible, like a entombed grenade.
Entombed grenade. Jesus.
Yeah, okay.
Oh
What
yeah.
I liked about
Yeah.
this movie, um,
Yes. What
obviously it's a
did you
Christopher
like?
Nolan. It's a Christopher Nolan movie, so it was shot beautifully.
It was.
The action scenes were great. They put a lot of work into it.
Hmm.
I really do like the idea, even though it seems kind of gimmicky. The idea that you can use the technology to reverse yourself, like go reverse in time, that is kind of cool. Like when they had like him fight himself in that scene, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, this is a really good idea because, I don't know why I didn't think that could possibly be him. I just thought it was an antagonist or something like that he was meeting.
Mhm.
But he was basically fighting himself in that hallway. I was like, actually, this is a really cool idea because they gave it a lot of reason too, because he's trying to save his friends. And he's fighting himself in the hallway, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and it makes sense. And then Neil's like, oh, don't shoot him. And then like I remember in the beginning of the movie when Neil beat the guy we didn't know about, the antagonist, when he ran away, right? And then they're like, Neil, did you handle him? He's like, yeah, I got it. And I was like, oh, that's so lame. Like, you're not gonna show Neil do some like pretty cool action or something like that. But then later on, you realize that he saw the protagonist and he just
Mhm.
walked away. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool tie-in for sure.
Let's see. I think that's about it.
So,
Like things that I really, really like. Everything else, is just normal. But I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, dude, like this is a Christopher Nolan movie, shot beautifully. Like I remember the scene where the protagonist and the wife character, whose name I cannot remember,
Yeah.
in the movie, when they met up to talk in one
Cat.
scene, they were like on top. Was it Cat? Like
Yeah, it's Cat.
Might have been Cat. Yeah.
they were like on top of like this beautiful mountain in like Italy or somewhere like that, and I'm like,
Oh
dude,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that scene, that was like one of the most
That was
beautiful
nice.
like canvas landscape scenes. I'm pretty sure the money that it cost to film that like 30 seconds could have made a COVID vaccine, because it was just like it was like breathtaking, like
COVID.
just just like landscape that was going on, and Chris Nolan always does that in his movies. When you go see a Chris Nolan movie, the quality is going to be top notch. That's just him. That's what he does. He's been doing that for a long time.
Dave, tell me you did not think of Simon Says when you saw that shot.
That was the first thing on my mind when I was watching. I didn't at that time, Jeremy. I didn't even see Simon Says. I didn't know Simon Says was a thing.
Okay, all right.
That's true. That's true. He saw it way before us.
I thought of Simon Says right away. I was like, this movie would be as if Christopher Nolan got the Simon Says script.
There was a parachuting car in the background. I don't know how you guys.
Simon Says was Christopher Nolan's like bad acid trip or something like that. He's like, let's
Right.
make this movie. Like they're in the same settings and stuff.
Yeah.
But this movie, I do think that this movie was a good movie. I think that it was a good time, but again, I said over and over again, it wasn't until explanation, that I was like, oh, okay, like they did pretty good. I liked, I guess, like the main thing is like the reverse time deal, like you said, Jeremy. Like that was cool. That was cool to see them incorporate that. The car chase, the fight with the protagonist versus himself. Not so much the last battle, but those scenes were cool to see, like the full circle of time travel going on there, and just how they laid things out. I do think that the movie was a good time, but you just you're gonna need to be committed. So nonetheless.
I do like I like Kat's story because she saw herself jump off the boat And then she said when she saw a mysterious woman drove off the boat, she envied her because she looked completely free. And then they kind of like bring it back, and then she kills her husband. Spoiler alert. And then jumps off the jumps off the side of the boat. And then like in that moment, she's actually really free, but like it all comes together, but in reverse,
It
which is like a
does.
theme of the movie. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, that's actually really that's well written.
It does.
Yeah, this movie did crap like that. Like that, the movie's kind of full of stuff, like along those lines and parameters.
I agree. That was perhaps the one main thing aside from the very ending that I didn't see coming, and I really like that. I just felt like it would have hit harder if I cared more about her. I suppose if I was more invested in her story, because 90% of the time she's just always looking sad. Nah, I hate my husband. Blah, woe is me.
Right.
Kind of feel to it. But I did like that moment. Again, I just wish it could have hit harder if I cared more about her. The reason why I was laughing because I forgot how hard he did die.
He died hard.
He died. That looked too real.
Twice. They threw a real body off the side.
There was something because Hyman's Patel was like, "Oh shit."
He literally said that.
Said think. Hit that rail. Then they towed that boy. They used him as a floaty.
They did. They dragged him across. I was like, Jeremy, are they dragging across the
didn't say that.
That's a little much.
Something that would have made this movie like really great would have been the fact that if they would have just slowed the plot down just a little bit and then just kind of had a little bit more character building to it. I was like, okay, they didn't have to do the protagonist. I know that's the point, is to kind of reveal his plot. But like the side characters like Kat and Neo, like we could have had like if we would have just had like a few slow scenes that really just kind of like drove home who they were, then I think that would have fixed it.
What was very interesting theory in this movie though, to wrap things up, is that the character Neil, he told the protagonist in the end of the movie, because unfortunately we know that Neil dies in the end of the movie because he was the guy with the coin on his backpack that the protagonist saw laying on the ground that got shot by Andre's guy. So he was going in the end of the movie. He was going back to go do that. Right. At the end of the movie, he was going back to reverse himself in time or whatever and get to that point where he was going to get shot and die, saving the protagonist. And so the protagonist, he's like tearing up. He's like, "What? He's like, "Don't go do that," because he knew it was him that got shot. And Neil told him, he's like, "You and I we've had many adventures, and this is just the beginning. Like blah blah blah, because you know that the protagonist founded Tenet." So, Neil, you see in the story that Neil tells him that they have many adventures together, and you see in the story that Kat's kid the whole time is like a big focus of this movie. So there is a theory, and I feel like it's almost not even a theory. It's kind of confirmed, just personally, I guess, that the kid is Neil, because the kid's name is, what was his name? His name was Maximilian, right? And if you like cut off like the Max, or if you say it backwards or whatever, it was the name like Neil, reversed. And so they're saying that the kid was Neil, and that the protagonist like raised him up and trained him, and they went on many adventures afterwards with the Tenet organization that they founded.
I literally just told Preston that.
He did, and I didn't believe
literally
him.
just literally, yeah. I just saw the theory like 20 minutes ago though, so
yeah,
I didn't really look into it, but yeah, I was confused. Honestly, I was confused by that at first, but then I was like, okay, no, that makes sense. Because so the war started at the end, and they were like clashing and stuff like that. Neil was in the reverse team, right? And he was kind of correcting everything that was happening during that war, during the war, and then he pulls them out of the hole, right? He gets in the car and he pulls them out of the hole, right? He continues to go back to the point in which it's at the beginning of the movie, and he saves the protagonist's life in that little firefight in the beginning. And then he's the one that has that coin in his backpack in the beginning of the movie. And then he keeps going forward again to the point to which he's in that cage, and then he like takes the bullet and dies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think that he went back that far to the
Yeah,
beginning
'cause
of the movie in the shootout. I didn't.
Yeah, he's in the beginning of that movie with the shootout. He has the coin. Yeah.
Because why would he have to go back that far to that point?
Because the only way for the protagonist to recognize the coin and then stand in that spot is for him to see it in the beginning.
Okay. Okay.
I don't care. I'm sorry. It's like it's cool to have like these theories and stuff, but because I'm not attached to the protagonist, and even though I really like Neil, it's just like, yeah, it'd be cool if he was this kid and he grew up, but like the movie didn't put emphasis on his backstory. The movie didn't put barely any emphasis on what. God, she was so tall. But they didn't put any emphasis on her kid, really. Just like it just felt like it was this object that this woman cares about. So like I don't care if that's true or not. And a movie should make you want to do research because you want to learn more about the movie because you're generally interested and you want to know more about the lore. But not because like I need it to understand the freaking movie. So I just don't care. I just don't care. That's what knocked it down to like a low, barely there for me. And God, it's not I don't want to say it's a nitpick. And I've dated tall women before, but like like in the beginning, it took me a while. Like she was distractingly taller than like everyone in this movie. I
was gonna say, like, is she tall or
yes.
is John David Washington short?
I looked it up. He is 5'10". He's not incredibly tall, but he's not short either. And like he wasn't that much shorter than Robert Pattinson. So she was a tower, dude.
And they kept putting her in high heels too. She was tall, and then they put her in high heels.
They did.
So by the end, she wasn't in heels, and she like a quote unquote normal-ish height. But yeah. Yeah, that really bothered Preston.
Bro, I was like, protagonist, you better pull that game on her. He kept rolling up to her and like kissing her on the cheek in front of her husband. I was like, my boy bold.
Wait, what? You needed like a step. You needed like a step ladder. I don't know.
I thought that was the main. I know this is just a theory, but I thought that was the main drive behind the protagonist trying to keep her and her kid alive. Was because that was Neil, and so he needed Neil to survive with his mom,
Right. But that's what the movie was really about.
Preston, you all right?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I thought I got disconnected. I thought I got disconnected there for a second. But no, I agree. It's I don't know. I feel like Tenet. It's a movie. It's named Tenet only because I think Christopher Nolan likes one-worded name titles, and I do Botman, and I do like the whole palindrome idea of it. That Tenet is it's spelled the same way forward as it is backward because it plays on the whole idea of reversing time. But
Radar.
And I did laugh. Radar. I did laugh pretty hard. Like the first 10 minutes, the chick was just like, "Hey, don't question that. Just go with it, nigga." Like she pretty much just.
I think she was talking to the audience. She's like, "Don't think about it."
I was like,
"Why not?"
She was talking to us. Right.
Like, weren't you in Dark Phoenix?
Weren't you
Oh
in
my
Dark?
god.
We don't talk about that right here.
Like, I don't know if I should take advice from you.
Right? Oh God.
Good movie.
It
Tenet.
would it would have been nice. I don't know. Like, I know it wasn't 100% necessary, but it would have been nice to see her like a reoccurring like
Right?
explainer or like
Right?
exposition in the movie. You know?
I kind of thought she was gonna pop back up, but she never did. She was like Michael Cage. She just got in and got out.
Yep.
Right.
David, one of my biggest gripes with the movie too is the fact that, you know, they don't really, like I said before, they don't really like use that reverse technology too much. And then when they start using it, they just use it left and right. Like they just start hopping in this machine. I'm like, this machine
They
is
did.
reverse
They
style,
started hopping in the
and then
machine.
all of a sudden everyone's
Like,
using it.
America vs. Time, and it's
Yeah.
and I had a problem with like that team just Quicksilver popping up with their team, and they're explaining everything to him, like how it works to live in the reverse time. Like, well, who are these things, and how do they know how everything works? Why was the protagonist doing this solo if we already had a team out there? Like,
Yeah, exactly,
like,
right? Yeah, like what made
like-
the protagonist, but he's the one who made the organization. That's why.
Yeah, that was Tenet. That was the like Robert Pattinson like made the call and caught them in. You know, like he's like, okay, what he said something like, we need the big guns now, or we need to make the call, or
Yeah.
whatever. You
should
know,
have
and then
done that from day one. I don't understand why the secrecy
I mean, okay.
from the protagonist.
The biggest plot hole too is like, okay, why even have a reverse battle in the end when they could have just like bombed that whole spot? Like if it was really that important, they could have just blew that place up and then strolled in and took the device away from the Russian dudes.
bro, I was like, what are they even bombing? Because like all those rocket launchers and stuff, it looked like they were just shooting them for no reason.
No
like
reason.
I'm like, what's the target right now? I was like, what?
I have
Maybe
no
he
idea.
Maybe he got confused himself when like reverse filming the movie.
Probably.
He's like, which way are we going again? I don't know.
I don't know.
Blow something up.
Yeah, communication. It's one thing this movie doesn't handle well, in my opinion. Yeah, I feel like I said everything I need to say. It's I don't regret seeing it, and a part of me does kind of want to see it again.
A little bit.
But golly, I walked out with a slight migraine of that. I texted Jeremy like the next day. I was like, I woke up feeling groggy, like I had a hangover. And I was like, what did I do last night? Oh yeah, I saw Tenet. I saw Tenet. Like I kind of, but I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. I like that Nolan, he doesn't treat his audience dumb. He likes complex stories and he's not afraid to show it. But you got to be a good storyteller to do so. And I just feel like, again, I haven't seen Interstellar, but I've seen Memento. I've seen obviously the Batman movies. I've seen Inception, and God, there's so much in this movie again that I really, really want to like. But if I'm being honest, this is probably like the weakest Nolan movie, in my opinion, that I've seen. But again, if you're already interested, yeah, go check it out. You know, social distance, be safe.
Yeah. Enjoy all the extra space in movie theaters. You don't have to have
True.
that smelly person sit next to you with their nachos, you know, breathing in your space. Now they're 6 feet, so now you get to relax. My only suggestion to anyone going to see this movie: don't go in with any expectations. Be ready to pay attention. And you'll like it a lot more if you don't take it too seriously.
Those are good points. Yeah.
And drink a bunch of lean.
Oh my
too.
god.
I don't know.
Fannies and drink some lean, and then
you'd be tripping on lean.
the movie. When they go in reverse, it'll just seem like it's normal.
Right. They're like, this movie's so slow. Like, what's happening?
I was perfectly sober during this movie, and I kind of wish I hadn't been.
We could have took a hit of your bong, but I don't think I would have been able to drive home. That was really strong.
That was really. We smoked a lot, but yeah, like it's kind of sad. I think I had I mean, if we're just talking about a movie experience and not exactly about the quality of the movies, like I definitely had more fun watching Simon Says than I than I did.
Oh my god.
Watch it.
Really? No, dude.
100%, because I was laughing
I
at
don't even
Simon
want to talk about
Says.
that.
I was, I was breaking apart in the best way possible. Like that was a fun Sunday. But like when we saw Tenet Saturday night, I was just like, Jeremy, what was?
It's the experience, bro. You were hella stoned watching Simon Says.
True, but I've been super sober watching a Nolan movie, and I remember thoroughly enjoying The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises.
Well, see, it's one of those things where like we knew going in it was bad, right? So we just got high and watched the movie.
Also true.
That's not fair.
I'm just saying.
Like, say that experience.
I'm just saying it's true though. It's true though.
Yeah.
It's not the same kind of movie. I wouldn't even consider Simon Says a movie. It's more like it's like a YouTube video, like a really.
It had a theatrical release, homie.
It's like a 2006 YouTube video.
Yeah, oh man!
Don't get me wrong. If someone had told Reverse Preston that, hey, you're gonna have more fun watching a movie with Dennis Rodman than you would a Christopher Nolan movie, I'd be like, you're out of your goddamn mind. And then he'd be like, smoke this. And then I'd be like, okay.
It ain't over.
Yeah, I know, Neil. It's over. It's all over.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Over. There was like a moment, like I think when she got shot, they were kind of like that. That made me laugh. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. I think I've said. The only other thing I'll say, there was a line towards the end of the movie that Neil said that I really liked. It was something along the lines of, whether the future or the present is set in stone. It was the saying, like, well, what's that common saying? Like, kind of like whatever happens, or, that's just how it goes. But he's like, that's not an excuse to be lazy and not do anything.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I really like that line. I just wish it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. It's hard. Again, I only recommend it to people who are already interested. And like you said, Jeremy, pay attention.
Yeah,
don't have high
Nolan fans are gonna love
expectations.
this movie. If you're a Christopher Nolan fan, strictly if that's the only thing that drives you to watch the movie, you're gonna love it. That's all I can really think of.
Well, that is our movie review for Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Thank you guys again so much for reviewing this movie with me. It was quite fun. Really enjoyed it, and I feel like we got our thoughts out there quite adequately. So, barely there. Now we're here. Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's fun.
A lot of fun.
Bye.
Later.
Ah. Okay, great. That's perfect.
Cool. David, what is this?